Welcome to Laurier's Teaching Excellence Conversation Series. I'm Deborah Van Eyneton, Academic Director of Teaching Excellence and Innovation at Wilfrid Laurier University. Today, I'm with Christos Shiamptanis from the Lazaridis School of Business and Economics, who received the 2025 Innovation in Teaching Award. With over a decade of experience in the classroom, Christos has built a reputation for making abstract concepts concrete, connecting theory to practice, and placing student learning at the center of every decision. He's developed experiential courses that mirror real-world economic policy work. He leverages technology to make his classroom more accessible and create vibrant learning experiences for students. On the national stage, he has mentored Laurier students to repeated success in the Bank of Canada's Governor's Challenge, which he uses as a teaching opportunity across his practice. And I'm excited to talk with him today. Christos, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
So you are an Innovation in Teaching winner, and one of your signature innovations is your work in preparing Laurier's team for the Bank of Canada's Governor's Challenge. Can you talk a little bit about how that got started and what that involves?
Yes. So let me first describe a little bit the competition. So it started in 2015. It was my...
Also, 10 years now.
Yeah. So it was my second year as an assistant professor at Laurier. And we find out that the Bank of Canada is starting this competition. And one thing that most people do not know is that at the Department of Economics and in economics in general, we don't have competitions. On the business side, there are so many.
Absolutely, yes.
So for us, it was an opportunity when, as soon as I read the description of the competition, it was experiential learning was screaming all over.
Yeah.
And I saw an opportunity and I was like, we need to participate in this competition. So this is a national competition. Universities throughout Canada participate. So on average, we have anywhere between 25 to 30 universities participating. And there are two phases. Phase one is in November, where you present to the judges. And then the top 5 universities move into the second round. That you travel to Ottawa.
Right.
And you present in front of the governor of the Bank of Canada and other senior leadership.
But no pressure at all.
Yeah, no pressure at all. And our teams have done very well. And I was very lucky to be part of this adventure. And we learned a lot through this process.
So starting in 2015.
Yes.
And Laurier has made it to the finals, what, 7 times?
So we have won twice.
Won twice.
We have been in the finals 8 times. And we have got an honorable mention that is a top 8 position. So you don't move into the finals, but you got a top 8 position once. So essentially every year that we participated, we got a recognition.
Okay, and how do you prepare students for this?
We have first designed a feeder course. That feeder course, we called it originally 310, Economics 310. And now, because it's so popular, we actually now, this year is the first year that it went through curriculum change, and now it has its own.
So is this a special topic?
Yes.
Yeah?
So now it has become EC 337.
And is this a forecasting course?
Yes, it is a forecasting course.
Yeah.
So all the students have to take, and this is where we unify all the skills that students have learned throughout their academic journey.
For macroeconomics.
Yes.
Yeah.
It combines forecasting, macro, presentations, analysis. All our students have done a little bit of everything in different courses.
Right.
So my goal was I need to unify all that skill, all that great accomplishments that our students have done and what my colleagues are doing. So I call myself more of a unifier with that course.
Yeah.
And then we needed to use actual data. So it had to be authentic. And students go through that course. And then the top students from that course, they get invited to participate then in a second course, a 400 level. And out of that smaller cohort, we select the top 4 students to present. So we have created a pipeline. We have found that that is a great recipe for success.
So you didn't have that in place at the beginning, but you
No.
put that in place over
Yes,
time.
it was gradual baby steps. So when we first did it, it was just one course.
Mm-hmm.
And we have realized it was a little bit too much work for the students and it wasn't as enjoyable for them at the beginning.
Right.
So this was an opportunity to learn from that and try and improve the student experience and learning. Because at the end of the day, for me, the competition and the win, it was nice to have.
Mm-hmm.
But most important were the learning objectives. What I wanted the students to get out of this. And given that it was such a short period of time, it was overwhelming for some of the students.
Yeah, too much.
Too much, too little,
Too fast.
too
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah. What kind of transformations do you see in the students, especially those that go to Ottawa?
The transformation is noticeable. You see the transition from a student of macro and econometrics to an emerging professional.
Yeah, I bet.
The fact that they have immersed themselves with roles and responsibilities that they can apply when they enter the labor force immediately, it improves their self-esteem, it improves their confidence, and they are ready to embark on a career as economists. And a lot of them actually get jobs at the Bank of Canada after they have participated in these competitions.
So now you can say Laurier students are here.
Yeah.
Right.
Actually, because of our success at this competition, the Bank of Canada started hiring Laurier students. Prior to that, they were not hiring as many.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a case where we as economists call a positive externality, where you do one good thing, but then it has another positive domino effect.
Yeah, absolutely. Creating a pipeline for Laurier students afterwards.
Yeah.
Right. Can you talk a little bit about the process of sort of formalizing the governor's challenge into I would say, a pedagogical framework, right? So how has what you've done in the governor's challenge really influenced the way macroeconomics is taught in your department, even the curriculum?
The first accomplishment I will say is that now we have introduced electives at the 3rd year and 4th year in macro.
Right. Yeah.
Prior to the Governor Challenge, the number of macro electives was very small.
Mm-hmm.
The majority of our electives were in micro or econometrics or in other areas.
Right.
The Governor's Challenge acted as a way to encourage us to introduce more electives in our curriculum, and some of them have formalized them now.
Right.
Now, in addition to that, we always strive to identify what are the learning objectives of a course. So for me, that was always the guiding principle, that I need my students to collect data. I need my students to analyze the data. I need my students to use the data to create a model. But then they need to be able to create a recommendation, a policy recommendation, present it, and defend it. So when you identify that, then that was sort of my guiding principle, that when I was designing the course syllabus, that I need to tie every assessment to one of these learning objectives.
And that must have a bit of a backwards sort of influence, right? Because then the core courses, 1st year level, 2nd year level, that must influence also what's being done in those courses.
So in some of our core courses, we have introduced more data assignments.
Okay, so there you go.
And then we have increased the emphasis of monetary policy. So before maybe it was a half a lecture.
Yeah.
Now it has become maybe 2 lectures devoted on monetary policy when we're covering
To give them more
background and prepare them for these electives later on.
So how do you prepare the students in the course for the pressure, for the high stakes of the governor's challenge?
I have 2 ways to do it, and it was a little bit of a trial and error. The one way is to introduce at the beginning short presentations where the students are going to present an economic event that just happened, for example, the tariffs, and tell what are the implications.
Mm-hmm.
And I will have 2 teams present exactly the same topic, and then I will ask both teams the same question at the end. And when the first team is presenting, the other one is outside the classroom. So they don't hear each other's the question. So there is not a competitive advantage when they are presenting. And then the rest of the class decides who has provided the best analysis and the best answers according to the rubric.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, I am the one grading them, but then I gave the rest of the class the incentive to reward 1 bonus point. And that's all it takes, 1 bonus point. And what it has done, it increased engagement from the rest of the class.
Absolutely.
And then it raised perhaps the pressure on the presenters to do a good job to impress the rest of the class.
Mm-hmm.
So I do what I call these competition presentations.
Mm-hmm.
But then that's at the beginning of the term. At the end of the term, 12 weeks later, they have the final presentation that mimics exactly the competition. So the students at the end of that 3rd year course, they need to present a 15-minute presentation followed by a 15-minute Q&A. And I invite guests. Some of my guests are colleagues or alumni to ask any questions that they think are important. Because when we go and present to the Bank of Canada, we don't always know who is going to be the judge until you walk into the room.
Mm-hmm.
The beginning is more, I would say, the pressure is lower, but then as you progress through the semester, I try to increase the pressure gradually because you need them to be able to practice giving presentations, thinking on their toes, defending their answers and their recommendation in front of experts in the field.
So do you give them feedback on their oral presentation skills?
Every time. And
Every time.
And this is, I would say, one of the key ingredients for their growth as students.
Mm-hmm.
So what I do, I have rubrics. My rubrics, I provide them ahead of time. I take the presentation and I break it into different parts.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I found, and I was guilty of that you reward a student if they have provided a good delivery. For me, delivery is one of the 5 components of a presentation. The structure, the visuals, the content, the analysis, the Q&A, and the delivery. Mm-hmm. Like you need to see more than just the delivery. And a lot of times I will say that most of the students were doing amazing on 4 of the 5 areas, and they needed a little bit more coaching guidance on the other one.
Mm-hmm.
And that was unique to the student. So you identify what is the area that one particular student or a group of students need help, and you target that area by always encouraging and enforcing positive reinforcement on the areas that they have done exceptionally well.
That's right. It gives you a little bit of flexibility in terms of how you give them feedback, because presentation skills on the part of students can vary enormously.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Because some people are natural in front of others. Others really have to work at it.
Yeah.
Right?
And those are the students that I would say I had to work a little bit harder because they had great presentation material and they just needed to work a little bit more on their delivery.
Mm-hmm.
Those students in the past, maybe they will be labeled as not good presenters, but the way I had my rubric, they will get perfect on the other 4 dimensions.
Right. For
But
good
then on the
analysis and Q&A, etc. Yeah.
But then on the delivery, I said, well, this is what we need to work. And here is a recommendation that I gave to improve your presentations. And a lot of times it was stand in front of a mirror and present for 4 minutes or 5 minutes.
You know, I tell students, go into the bathroom, shut the door, and give your presentation to the mirror, and it echoes off the tile walls, and you get used to the sound of your voice in your own head.
Yes.
Right? And then you go into class and, oh yeah, so yeah, that's what I sound like.
Yeah.
Any other economics courses that have integrated experiential learning or applied elements into the curriculum?
We're a little bit of a laggards in that respect. So I would say this is one of the first courses that
it's breaking ground.
Yes. And I would say we have other courses that they're incorporating experiential learning. So I would say now we have more courses that they're doing it both at the graduate level and the undergraduate level. So we're reaching out and we're asking cities, what is the city of Waterloo or the city of Sarnia? What are some of the issues that you worry, or what is an economic problem that you may have?
That we can work on.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then
wonderful.
We bring that real world problem then into the classroom.
So I want to return to something that you referenced before, and that is you created these courses with no textbook materials, right? No reference materials. How do you do that?
It was challenging. A textbook provides a guidance.
Absolutely. Even highlighting sort of what are the priority things that I need to cover.
So
right?
At that point, I had a challenge of identifying what are the necessary materials that I need to include, how rigorous the class will be, what will be the assignments, and what kind of assignments, because now I don't have end of the chapter questions to use as practice. So all things were going through my head, but I think this is where my creativity and innovation kicked in.
Yeah.
It was an opportunity to think outside the box and use also my personal experience that I work as an economist in the private sector and say, what were the skills that I needed to be successful?
Right.
And my goal was to identify those learning outcomes, and that was they need to get the data, and it has to be data that is relevant to economics and relevant economic issues.
Right.
They need to put it into an economic model, and they need to give me a policy recommendation, and they need to defend it. Storytelling is so powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
We tell them that presentation skills are important, but showing them how to be an effective presenter it's lagging from some of our courses. So that was one thing that I try to do in this course. Help them communicate complex economic issues in simple terms, such that is accessible to the average citizen.
Yeah, and I like your, staying focused on your course level outcomes. Here's what I want students to know by the end. So then what materials can I use to get us there, right?
Exactly. And one thing that I tell myself and even other colleagues is that it's not the end that matters. It's the journey, in my opinion, that is more important.
Yeah.
The growth that is going to happen during that period, during those 12 weeks, how the students are going to evolve and transform. That is a bigger reward to me rather than the winning. The winning is excellent, but the student growth, in my opinion, is most important.
I think one of the things that you note in your dossier that is so special is you talk about the roots of the tree being bitter, the fruit being sweet. That learning process is hard. And sometimes convincing students that they need to do the hard stuff before they get to the sweet fruit can be difficult, right? But I think with these courses, you bring them along in such a way that they're kind of forgetting that it's hard work, right?
Yes, you sweeten the roots.
You sweeten the roots, absolutely. I want to change gears just for a minute because you have been an early adopter of hyflex teaching.
Yes.
And Those who are watching this might say, if I have students in the classroom, but I let students view from elsewhere, so they're not coming in person, they won't come in person. What is your answer to that? Because there's skepticism about whether this is going to work, right? And it's tough to make it work.
Yeah. Based on my experience, I haven't observed that drastic fall that everybody claims that it will happen. So you might find a small number of students that might decide to attend virtually. But I think that attending in person, there is this energy, this aura that happens at that point that I believe students feel that, and they are making the decision to show up at 8:30 in the morning in my class instead of joining virtually from their bed.
Macroeconomic policy at 8:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Good work.
The reason I initiated in my case were two reasons, was to remove barriers. I have noticed over the course of the years that some of my students, because of their lives, they were not, I would say, the typical student or the student that I was focused only on university. They're trying to juggle other things in their lives.
Sometimes the so-called non-traditional students are now in the majority.
Yes, the non-traditional.
Yeah.
And I found that those students that they had to miss class a lot of times because of these other factors that they were outside their control, they were getting penalized, quote unquote penalized, because the material, for them to access the material that they have missed, they had to go ask somebody else. So my goal was, how can I make the material easily accessible to everyone? If they couldn't attend the class, they cannot watch the recording, or if they can attending from home, they can join virtually. At least they're getting the 90% instead of the 0.
Yeah.
So that was one of the reasons. The second reason, which it was perhaps closer to my heart, is that there were some students from the ALC that because of their accommodations, they couldn't be in the classroom. And that particular student, I remember that I received an email and says, I need to graduate, and this is a core course. This course is not offered online. Is there anything that you can do to help? At that point, the easiest thing for me to do is to say, well, my class is in person, but then I raised the barrier. Like, I didn't put the barrier down. I wanted to eliminate the barrier, and I said, I will allow the hyflex model. And I did warn the student that it might have glitches, it might have speed bumps. Technology might not be perfect. But the advice I will give even to my colleagues when they embark on this hyflex, the day that the computer is not going to work or the Zoom is not going to work, treat it the same way that you will take your marker to write on the board and it died. And then you need to find one and you don't have one with you and you need to find a solution. Treat it the same way.
So you said you didn't see the drop-off, right?
I did not see the drop-off.
No.
I will say that on average, it's only a handful of students that they have switched. So
but you also have them doing a lot in the classroom,
yes,
right?
I try to engage them in the classroom, and my classrooms, I ask them a lot of questions. I collect the feedback using other software. So students can participate either in class or the software, because it's cloud-based, they can participate from their room as well. But still, with all the flexibility, the majority of the students are in person.
But you do find it a more equitable way to offer the course material.
Yes.
Yeah.
We are opening doors that they were being shut for certain type of students. You're pushing boundaries down, and you're making knowledge easily accessible and equitable to everyone. So
for a colleague who's considering hyflex, getting started, where do you start?
The beginning will be bumpy. So I want to start and set the expectation that it might be a little bit bumpy at the beginning, and it might take 2 attempts to perfect it. Now, the advice I will give everyone is invest some money on a camera that detects motion. So I went online, and I search. I use my professional development funds that we get, and I bought one of those cameras that detects motion.
The owl that,
Yes,
yeah,
it turns.
yeah.
And so when I am in the classroom, I access Zoom from two cameras. My laptop, which is static, it's not moving, but then you also have the other one that it detects motion. So the students, on their perspective, they can have two viewing angles when they're home.
So it seems more dynamic.
Then you use software that, about participation. I use software like the iClickers that is cloud-based, and you ask a question, and then everybody that has a tablet, a cell phone, a computer can log in regardless where you are, and you can answer that question. And that question can be a one-word answer. It can be a multiple choice. It can be just circle something on an image. And then everybody is engaged with the class material regardless where they are.
So just continuing then in this theme, you are very passionate in your dossier about inclusion, right?
Yes.
About trying to make things accessible to everyone, making sure that people feel included in the types of activities you undertake in your course. Talk a little bit about how you got started doing that as well.
Yeah. Based on my experience, I noticed that there were certain individuals from certain marginalized groups that they were underrepresented, especially in the elective course.
Right. So getting prepared for the challenge team.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when I first did it in 2015, it was a certain type of students that they will apply to be part of it. And then you start thinking why that's the case. And then this is where I started becoming more involved and more active to let know the underrepresented and the marginalized students, hey, I think this is a great opportunity
for you.
Yes. Sometimes I think just giving them a gentle nudge and letting them know about that opportunity, it's huge. And then sometimes what I will do, I will highlight what I see as their strength and why I see that they might be a good fit moving forward. And over the years, I've noticed that especially women in economics, they're underrepresented. And the number of women participating now in the Governance Challenge has increased dramatically. And even from students that they were from certain underrepresented groups, they see themselves now. And that brings me happiness, because these little things that we all can do can have a huge impact on someone. And I will also share two extra strategies and approaches that I usually do in my classes. Others might be able to borrow them or even finesse them and come back and tell me how I can improve on that. When it comes to the presentations and teamwork, I will notice that certain individuals will kind of be more silent in a teamwork. And you all have the same individual taking the leadership role. And once you observe it once, then the second time we have a presentation, I'll go and I'll point to the student that was the quieter one, and I say, in the next presentation, you will be the leader, and you will tell everyone when to talk and what point to raise. So you're going to be the chief economist for that presentation, and everybody needs to follow. You place them in a role that they can see themselves being the chief economist one day.
Yeah. And
a lot of them shine. Another thing that I do when I observe sometimes of certain individuals their ideas being shut down when it comes to research, because a lot of times we need to do them as a work, in a team. And some people are louder in convincing others, but then some ideas that are amazing, they come from people that they're a little bit more quiet. So then what I do in those cases, because we have different touch points and we have different parts of research, then what I will do sometimes is that if I see some people that they have great ideas, but they're in a group that doesn't allow them to
Yeah,
go
it's
on the,
not making it
you know,
through to
I
the.
would try and take the students and put them in a different group. Because I tell them, you need to be able to work with other people. And that's something I make it clear from the beginning to account for that. Because I want to give myself the possibility to reshuffle them because I want to correct for
So you
that.
tell them,
Oh,
your team might change.
oh, I tell them, actually, for every assignment, the team has to change. Because I want to correct these biases that might happen and fix some of the inequalities that might unintentionally arise.
Yeah.
Because now I can reshuffle and I'll put students that I see potential and I'll put them in a group now that their voice can be heard and actually they can do an amazing job. So just sometimes reshuffling the teams and letting them know you're not going to work with the same team from the beginning of the term to the end. So that's an expectation that everyone I need to work with everyone.
And so do international students present a special challenge in this regard in terms of building their confidence to take the reins and be the leader?
At the beginning, they might be less confident, but again, by dividing the presentations and by putting them into sort of leadership roles, I have found that they excel, they become more confident, and there is growth for those students as well. Maybe the learning curve is steeper for those students, but it's not impossible. And when I see them reaching the top, that's where I feel like my goal and my accomplishments are.
They live on.
Yes.
You are an Innovation in Teaching Award winner.
Yeah.
So, and you talked several times about being creative,
Yes.
being innovative. So what's next for you?
Learning and finding effective ways to communicate information, I see it as ongoing. It's not something that you have learned one way to do and deliver information. There must be other ways that the students that come, they're going to be coming in 2040 or 2050, if I'm still around, they're going to need a different way to acquire that information. So I need to find ways to touch the new generation. I need to find ways that they can relate to the information. Teaching them the way that I learned back when I got my PhD in 2008 is very different with the way students are learning now.
Yeah, going on 20 years later. Right?
Yes. So my goal is to bring new methods, new techniques. And what actually I'm spending a lot of time right now is how do you bring AI? And what does that mean? And how do you bring it? How do you incorporate it? How do you embrace it? And one thing about, just to talk a little bit about the AI, initially, the AI, I thought about how do I prevent it? But then I later noticed that the best way is not how to prevent it, but what is the correct way to use it?
Channel it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that is one of the things that I'm working now. Now, in my current role as the director of the master's program in business economics, I am collaborating with other graduate directors in other disciplines to see if we can create an interdisciplinary degree that combines economics with something else. So that's something that I'm working on right now.
Well, and I would think that your perspective on, constantly scanning the horizon outside the university to think, what do students need, right? What can we prepare them for? That would come in handy when you're creating an interdisciplinary graduate degree.
Yep, I hope so.
Well, Christos, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Yep, thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
My thanks to Christos Shiamptanis for joining me today, and I hope you will join me for more conversations that celebrate exceptional teaching practices, explore diverse teaching philosophies, and discuss the future of higher education teaching and learning.